All right. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you happen to be watching this. We are currently live right now with our inaugural Words of Wisdom, or as we like to call it, our WOW Expert Interview Series. My name is Michael Bridgman. I'm the CEO of Time. And today, as a special guest, I have Mr. Keith Lloyd, the business surgeon. Now, this man, I have to tell you guys, he is an absolute genius at understanding the inner operations, the real nuts and bolts of how business operates. He has over 25 years of entrepreneurial experience, which is a ton. I don't need to tell you that. But he has been able to accomplish amazing things in his career, absolutely amazing stuff. So not only does he now use that wisdom to help other businesses grow and succeed, but he's also able to really dig into some of the things and the challenges that you may not be able to see in your business. And that's one of his most specialized qualities, is being able to see those things that you may not have been able to see that are happening, that are actually holding you back. Wouldn't that feel amazing to have somebody come in and actually identify that stuff for you and help you with that? And he gets there, everybody, by having this wonderful wealth of experience in his background. So I'll let Keith dive a little further into his overall story. But here is a guy who, at the peak of what he was doing in his sushi business, so here's a guy who revolutionized the grab-and-go food industry, and he did it through getting grab-and-go sushi, of all things. So able to manufacture sushi fresh, fast, and get it into the grocery store market so people can have access to it. The type of systems and logistics that were necessary to get this done, I don't need to tell you, were incredible. And he was able to produce, and he'll tell you this story, 5,000 pieces of sushi a day from a 600 square foot facility. If that doesn't mean that this guy knows what he's doing when it comes to operations, I don't know what does. So he was able to take that knowledge and all that experience and all that trial and error, you guys, and now he's gone into business coaching itself. So now he's taken that wisdom and he really imparts it on the business clients that he has, and he calls his business the business surgeon. He's going to tell you a little bit how you can get a hold of him and how you can really get an advantage of what he has to offer. But this guy has been able to give so much to me personally, and he's been able to guide so many businesses, countless achievements. And it is absolutely my pleasure and a huge honor to introduce Mr. Keith Lloyd, the business surgeon, on our inaugural Words of Wisdom, or WOW Expert Interview Series. So thank you very much. Digital applause from everybody here, and from myself. Thank you for joining us today, Keith.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on, Michael. And, this is an honor for me. I'm proud to be part of WOW, and I'm really proud that you, and honored that you've chosen me as the guest for the inaugural presentation and event. So thank you very much for that. Welcome to everyone else who's here. And I appreciate everyone being here because, as we know, 80% of success is all about showing up. So thank you for showing up today, and I look forward to hearing feedback from you guys, and also to be able to impart some words of wisdom upon you guys as well. So yeah, it's true. Michael gave you some background on me. I started my first business when I was 24 years old. Not really wanting to go into business. I was very much a reluctant entrepreneur to begin with. However, I embraced it and I committed to it, which is something that is really important for anyone in business, to commit to whatever it is that they are doing, and built the business up from zero to about $1.5 million in revenues on a yearly annual basis, and we did that for about a 10-year period, and we had cornered the market quite nicely.
And this was a while ago, Keith. So $1.5 million. I mean, I'm not going to date you.
It must be the gray hair or something.
But that was a little while ago. So that was when was it that you were able to? So give us a bit of a time frame. When did you started at 24 years old?
So I started 1986. That'll date me really well.
1986. Okay, I think we can do that math.
And with that, I set a goal that I wanted to be $1 million revenue business within about 5 years. Took the steps that I needed to do, that I thought I needed to do. And just like every entrepreneurship, in the first 5 years, it was great, but it wasn't $1 million business. And so I had conversations with people. I got a little bit of consulting and coaching brought in. I changed partners because that was part of the challenge, and we'll talk about that a little bit today. But in getting a new partner, that vaulted us into $1 million level because we had the capabilities and we had the mindset to be able to work on creating that $1 million business that we were really looking for. I was really looking for.
Cool. So when you're at that stage, Keith, what were just a couple of things that you were really running into? What were a couple of the challenges that you faced, especially when, so you said you were looking for a partner. I think a lot of people have thought about partnering up with their business before. What are some of the things that you discovered in looking at partnerships beforehand?
Well, so my experiences with partnership is probably not, it's probably common, but it's not always the best. It's why I changed partners. Originally, I took on a partner because I was scared to be an entrepreneur myself and be like fully bought in and that. And so for me, it was really about, look, I need some help here. I need someone who can help me achieve some of the stuff. I couldn't do it all. And today we're going to talk a little bit about teamwork and all this and who's on your team. But I mean, the reality of it is that, you know, partnership is really hard, and it's almost never equal based in terms of work ethic and philosophy and things like that. We'll talk about today a little bit as well about what you need to be able to find in terms of a partner and how you want to set that up so that you can be successful. And within all that, partnership has a number of different dynamics. Now, I took on my first partnership because I just didn't have the confidence to run a business. Even my partner didn't really know how to business, but we'll struggle through it together. That was kind of how we got there. And as we kind of grew, as sales and revenues grew, what happened is that we realized that, okay, well, we need to create some systems here. And this has to be scalable, because when we first started, we were doing like, I don't know, $8,000 in the first month of business. And we were dealing with mostly small fish markets in the Vancouver area. And you know, that was okay.
Yep.
But, you know, you start talking about going into hospitals and going into grocery stores and creating change in an industry that really didn't have packaged food products that were ready for consumption at the time that I started my business. So, you know, we looked at that and we looked at how can we pioneer that. And so we became, you know, one of the thought leaders and thought processors, thought processors, I guess, that created some of that change within the grocery industry. I mean, we started out fish departments selling sushi.
Right. So that's, I mean, we're going to dig into that in just a sec, but
Yeah.
that's a very interesting place to start in a grab and go concept of food, Keith.
Yeah, absolutely.
In 1986.
Yes, absolutely. So, you know, like within all that, I mean, we built systems, we built processes. We had to have good manufacturing practices. We were working with Costco. Costco actually helped us build a lot of, they forced us, or they not forced us, that's probably the wrong word. They created a need for us to change how we did things to be more systematic. We were part of a scenario where they do, like, part of what Costco does is they create third-party audits, and they send you in for send somebody else in to do a third-party audit. Those third-party audits were really great because a lot of people would look at them like, oh my God, I'm going to get audited. And for us, it was like, no, this is
who wants to be audited and have their, you know, everything checked out.
In this case, it was an opportunity for us to learn how to grow. So, you know, they actually educated us as to some of the things that we needed to do at the time. And so we were really open and wanted to listen to everything that anyone in the industry, everyone from consumer and corporate affairs to our clients to, you know, what are your needs? What is it that your needs are at this time?
Yep.
So within all that, I mean, we built the business and we did it in a way that everything was systematic and was created systematically, so that processes, Michael talked about in his introduction, he talked about us working out of a 600 square foot facility. Well, it was a really small food manufacturing facility. I mean, it's the size of pretty close to the room I'm sitting in right now. And within all that, it wasn't 5,000 pieces that we were actually producing every day. It was 10,000.
Oh my gosh. So I got there. Okay. So at one
So
point you were making 10,000 pieces of sushi a day
a day,
and different
a
types
day.
of sushi,
Yeah,
not just one type. Right.
absolutely. And we were doing it within about a 6-hour period.
So Keith, I think a lot of us go, wow, that's incredible, right? Like that is a lot. So if you can for me, what's the thinking that goes into because most of us, I think the instinct for a lot of us would go, okay, well, we need more space, we need more space, we need more space. What inside you made you want to drive for producing that much in that type of efficiency?
Well, first of all, I'm very competitive. So
Okay.
so that need for competition is how can I drive things in a better way, faster, quick, like all of that. And so when we started looking at some of this stuff, it wasn't necessarily like it was Safeway that approached us first, and they said, we want to have you come in and do this. And so without wanting to compromise our quality, we looked at how we wanted to grow, and Safeway actually helped us grow in that way because we rolled out our product line to Safeway in steps. And so we started with maybe, I don't know, 10 Safeways to start with in a certain area, and then we grew from there. So what that allowed us to do was to be able to grow properly and to take that time to be able to systematically create the things that we needed to do. Now, I had come up, my very first job was in McDonald's. And so I learned mass food production very easily and very, very quickly. And what we did was we incorporated, so something that I haven't mentioned, nothing's been mentioned here. All of our products were handmade. So we're
Wow.
creating
Okay.
10,000 pieces handmade every day.
Handmade every day in
Yeah,
that space.
yeah.
I,
And
I would
so,
imagine, I just keep imagining that you need dozens of people wrapping sushi to pull that off.
well, yes, that was part of it. So as we were growing, we were bringing in people to help us because obviously, like I can't do that myself. Like I can make, if I make a roll, well, when I was peaking, I was probably making a roll every 20 seconds.
When you were in your role making prime,
My
Keith?
roll making prime, yes.
Yes.
And so within all that, like you can only do so much and so fast. So then you've got to start bringing in, um, the amount of people that you need, and you scale up as you go. Now, this isn't a scenario where, um, we get a big account, say a Costco, and we're jumping from say 2,000 pieces to 4,000 pieces. This is a gradual rollout. So, like the first year we kind of looked at this. I mean, Safeway came in our first year of operation. So what happened was we looked at, okay, how can we make this so efficient? Yes, we need people, and I see that Roseanne was asking, or Rosemary was asking about, how many people does it take?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not just about how many people it takes; it's the quality of the people that you take, the direction that they're taking. Right? You've all got to be working in consensus. Right? You've all got to be working together to make sure that everything gets done properly. And we had a very high quality product that was also very perishable. So food handling was really important. Logistics was incredibly important. Um, as we grew and as regulations grew within the industry, we went from basically when I first started, I was delivering in small coolers in the back of my Volkswagen Beetle. And that was like, I don't know, actually that was before even 1986. And
That was about the same kind of time frame, Keith, that my mom was driving my sister and I around, and we were doing flyers. We were delivering flyers into the mailboxes of the people living in our neighborhood for dog grooming.
yeah, so
Yeah.
so you understand, right?
Yeah. 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 Totally.
So what happened was over the years, what we got heavily, the bigger we got, the more regulated we were getting pushed to be. And so we had to buy vans and refrigerated vans and all those kinds of things. We had a freezer that basically not blast froze, but blast chilled. all of our products so it could be sent out similar in some ways to the way we were doing it. But all the product had to be delivered at 4 degrees Celsius or less. So this is all food safe stuff. So this isn't really part of maybe applicable to your businesses out there. So just in terms of that, there was a lot of logistics that were really important to understand in all this. It's not just about, hey, we're going to go make sales. It's how you deliver it and you maintain that quality and maintain the consistency of everything as you go along in all this, right? Because
Right.
we had Safeway as a customer for 19 years.
Wow. So Keith, let me ask you that question that Rosemary was asking then. So how many people at the peak point were working out of that space?
So we had about 20 people.
20 people in 600 square feet.
Yeah. Yeah, and it wasn't a sweatshop by any stretch of the imagination. There was lots of room to move. What we did was we just made everything really efficient. So we had things like chest freezers that were used as work tables.
Yeah, of course. Yep.
To like everything was kind of all very systematic. So you've got what we had an island table that was very food safe. That was all the proper prepping table and things like that. Stainless steel and all that. And within that, a lot of the product was being made, and then we were using things like the chest freezers to lay out the trays, and then systematically put stuff into the trays, and then complete the packaging process within all that as well.
And so, Keith, I mean, this was a huge accomplishment. You were able to. How long did it take you to grow this size of business?
Well,
because then you eventually sold it.
Yeah. So the business at about the 20-year mark. So I had two partners during this time, and I want to go back to partners just for a second, Michael, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So my first partner was very much interested in keeping the business small. I just want to be a little guy, and we can bend some rules and do those things. And for me, it was about, no, let's see how big we can get it. That's my competitive nature, right? And so within all that, I had to orchestrate a buyout of the partnership by another partner. I certainly wasn't prepared to do it all myself. And I had the confidence in the person that I was bringing in as my second partner to be able to say, okay, look, this is the direction, this is the vision that I want to go. This is all the things that I see this company being. And so they kind of incorporated that into what they wanted to do. They were bringing a certain skill set that I wanted to be bringing in to the business. They had more of a experience in a institutional kind of kitchen, so which is what we strove to be. But the problem with that is that they weren't used to all the systems and manufacturing. And they'd gone through the McDonald's system as well. So they kind of knew we were kind of on the same page, but not quite. So by the time we hit the 18-year mark, the partnership kind of, I could see that the writing was on the wall, and I decided that I needed to go I needed more growth. Our company was very stable, and that was scary actually, because there was no uncomfortableness to this. And so we just kind of went along. And as you guys all know, if you're not growing, you're dying. So in this situation, and you have to realize this is someone who had no background in business, no business experience, nothing before I started this business. So I'm green in all of this. I'm figuring this stuff out as I'm going along, and most of it without any help. Even my partner wasn't experienced in that.
But Keith, wouldn't you say that that's pretty common for most entrepreneurs? Is that they wind up,
absolutely,
they're not showing up with a business degree or bucket loads of experience in their back pocket. They have a vision, they want to be creative, and they have something they want to share, and they push forward with that vision and that creativity, right?
Absolutely, and you have this passion for this, whatever it is you do, producing this product or doing a service that makes your clients happy. Like, those are the things that really drive us as entrepreneurs. The system stuff is the stuff that's kind of like, really, I have to do that too? And so it really does come down to, I'm sorry, I've forgotten the question, Michael. So if you want to help me with this,
No, they're just, you were discussing partners and how,
so
partnerships
around
can be
partners,
challenging at times because you have different value systems and different perspectives on where you want to get to.
yeah, absolutely. And so he was really good. My second partner was really good at some of the logistics stuff, the, the the delivery part.
Yeah.
I expected more from him in the kitchen. So for me, what I was looking to do was to step back from the production side of the business and actually grow the business. And so we weren't growing the way I felt we needed to. And you have to remember, okay, so this is early 2000s now. We're sitting there and looking at logistics costs, and the price of gas had like tripled,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
in
yeah.
that time. And our there's only, if I can impart some really great words of wisdom for all of you out there, if you're selling a product or a service, make sure your margins are there. It does not matter how much your revenues are. Okay, make sure your margins are there. And if you can't make the margin that you need to make in order to be profitable, do not do this. Do not do your business. Go find something different to do that's going to be profitable, or shift it, or do something. But never operate at a place where you're kind of, oh, I'm breaking even.
So let's jump into this transition a little bit, Keith, because once you sold the business,
Yeah.
you then went into basically business coaching for yourself and encountered this exact type of problem, right? You started a business, and I mean, let's be honest. I know a chunk of your story here that it was a struggle, wasn't it?
It was. So the best way for me to describe this is, imagine having a job that you really loved, that you poured your heart and soul into, that everybody knew you, you were the face of the company, all those things for 20 years, and all of a sudden you sell your business. So, and in all that, some of your customers, because of the direction that the new owners took, some of those customers no longer get serviced. So, I'd walk into places like, you should come back. We're not being, all that stuff. Now, within all that, it affects a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, this really,
And
I mean,
it
this
doesn't
hurt
just,
your relationships too, right, Keith?
well, so here's what people don't necessarily think about when a business closes. There's suppliers that get affected. And it isn't necessarily that you don't pay them off, it's that they no longer have that business. You've got customers who, in our case, it was like Safeways and Costco's and all those kind of places. And all of a sudden, they're no longer got those revenue streams coming in either. And they'll replace it with other things, but at the same time, this is what's going on.
Yeah.
Plus, you have all your employees. Now, I was able to find half my employees' work with the new owners because our company got bought out by another company, and so some of the other workers, some of my employees were absorbed into that company because they had skill sets and things that this other company needed. So it affects all those people. I'm not even going anywhere near yet the fact that we're also talking about the friends that get affected, the family that gets affected, all my employees' families that get affected. All those routines get affected. Now, from an ownership standpoint, as someone who was the face of the company and owned a very successful company for 20 years, day one after I sold the business, I had no identity.
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So my identity is gone. Poof. All I've got is he's been a successful businessman. No longer is he a successful businessman. He's been one. Right? So you lose your identity. You lose within 2 years I was separated from my wife, the mother of my kids. It affected my kids. It affected a lot of people. And so the reason why I got into consulting was because, for me, I didn't want to see that happen to other people. I understood all the effects that come from all this. and
So
how.
Keith, when you got into consulting, then when you took this, because as you said, right, you were stumbling. I mean, you sold your business, and suddenly you were, as you put it quite eloquently, without an identity, and that causes these ripple effects, right?
Yeah,
You then go into business consulting,
yeah,
and the driving factor behind that was to help these entrepreneurs get their lives in order, right? Like sort of just help gather the pieces again, because I think all of us here who are entrepreneurs that are going to be listening to this interview or listening to it right now, we can all connect with the idea that you lose yourself in your business a little bit and it becomes your identity. But then when that's taken away, your connection with the world, the way you integrate with it, completely changes, and it leaves you in this really strange sense of limbo, right?
yeah, absolutely. I mean, it took me, so decompression time was
Yeah.
actually about 2 years. Took, when you're running at a really, really high pace, I mean, we're talking a 1.5, $1.6 million business that is a daily thing, and being very involved in it. Um, at times, in being the face of the company, we were doing on-site catering as well. And within all that, I had the skill sets and the personality that people wanted to have on site. So when you're making sushi for a customer, they want to see you. They don't want to see everyone else, right?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So, um, so a lot of identity stuff. You know, searching. Like even now, like I'm in that place of just searching for, okay, what am I going to do?
Well,
And
I
I
mean,
have this
because
skill set, all these skill sets that I can help others with.
yeah. So Keith, you say that you're searching now. I mean, I'm going to ask the pressing question here. I mean, I've seen you in action. I've been a client, so I've
Yeah.
received your guidance. What do
Yeah.
you mean by searching?
So what I mean by is, between 2006, 2008, I'm searching for answers. Like,
I see.
where do I go? What do I do? I thought, okay, well, I've been a successful entrepreneur, business person, accidental entrepreneur, but successful business person. And what's next for me? So I want to go into corporate world. Crazy me, want to go corporate. Oh, look, I want a challenge. Yeah, okay, awesome. Um, and we as entrepreneurs all go through that once at some point in time, where we kind of question, should I really be doing what I'm doing? And my answer to that is yes. Absolutely yes. If you have a passion for what you're doing, go do it. Find ways that are going to monetize too. If you do something and do something well and you love it, go do that, because life is too short to be miserable and working for somebody else.
Right.
So, um,
So you go to the corporate world and it doesn't work out so well, and then you
yes,
because I know how that unfolded for you. So then you wound up.
yes.
I mean, because then you get into the actual business coaching that you're doing right now. I mean, it's your business is obviously um, boomed, and even in the few years that I've known you, Keith, I think your business has probably tripled or quadrupled in size. Am I right?
Yeah, it's been a really interesting ride. So up until about 2000, so I was running this double identity for a while. So this is important for you to hear, where I was working as a contractor in the corporate world, but I was also doing some consulting as well for other companies on the side. And so I was kind of dipping my toe in both waters, not really liking the corporate world, but as a single dad, it was important for me to be able to bring in income so that I could support my family. And so that was the important piece for that. Now, as an entrepreneur, I'm sitting there going like, I should be doing more to help others and develop my business. And I don't know if any of you know of or have heard of a gentleman by the name of Darren Jacklin. However, Darren is someone who influenced me very heavily about 4 years ago. I went to a meetup, and I was at a crossroads. And at the meetup, Darren pulled me up on stage and really challenged me as to what my goals, what I wanted to see as my vision for 10 years.
Okay.
And I said, you know what? I want to be able to help at least 500 businesses over the next 10 years and help them grow.
And what year was this, Keith?
About 2014.
So we got a few years left here.
A few years.
Halfway. Okay.
Yeah, halfway. So, so Darren really shifted me, and I love Darren. He's a great guy, and what he did was he made me set an intention.
Mm.
And with that intention, I started looking at how am I going to really do that. And sometimes you do need the how, but most times you're still searching for the how when you set intentions. And as a good entrepreneur, if you're not comfortable, then you're not setting a deep enough intention in all this. And that was a pretty uncomfortable in the moment for me, having to say and state I want 500 clients or help 500 people or companies over the next 10 years. So in all that, I had to make a shift, and I had to commit to this business. And so in 2015, I quit the corporate world completely. I made a commitment. I went and took a program that Michael and I have both taken. Michael's a facilitator in, I believe, still.
I am.
And I learned how to do business properly. Well, how to create a message and how to do the things that you're supposed to do in business. So even as a consultant, you know, I had lots of tools to systemize and process and get things going for other companies. For my own company, you know, it's similar to the shoemaker that's got holes in the bottom of the shoes. You know, I knew what to do, I just wasn't doing it. So in 2015, I made that commitment. I jumped, and I jumped whole hog into it. And I took a business program that cost me a lot of money at the time, but it was a good investment, I'll say, from then till now. It continues to pay off in spades because I worked it. And I can honestly say that that was the jumping off point for me, where I went, okay, I'm committed. And in that moment, I started to see things shift. I saw my business shift. I saw people shift around me. I saw some of my relationships with people that when I was kind of wishy-washy, those ones disappeared. I took some personal development as well, which I highly, highly recommend people do. Because if you're attempting to just grow on the outside, you have to be pretty whole on the inside before you can really see growth on the outside.
Cool. So Keith, if I can ask you then, when you've accomplished this great feat of kind of getting off of the riding of two horses, which I think for a lot of people who are starting out their business, the safety of that paycheck from another employment opportunity is very tempting, right?
Yeah.
But once you jump, so now you're coaching businesses and everything else. Walk us through, now that you do this on a regular basis, Keith, so that we can hear it from you. What are some of the common issues that most of your clients are facing? If you could drill it down to like the 3 most common issues that your clients are facing,
Yeah.
what would that be?
So first of all, so I'm just pausing because I need to get here, not here.
Absolutely.
So for me, I think one of the most important things you can find for your business is truly what your why is. Why are you doing this? And there's a background. The process that we take our clients through is there's a background in why you're wanting to do what you're doing. Sometimes it's childhood. There's stuff and events that have happened in your childhood that have caused you to want to be compelled enough to want to serve people in a certain way or to create something in a certain way. So if you don't know your why, if you truly don't know your why are you doing this? First of all, you're not going to jump out of bed in the morning, right? You're going to kind of,
Right.
you know, this is just my job. It's not a job, right? I cannot stress that enough. If you don't know what your why is, find it. And
Okay.
if your why is not in alignment with what you're doing, go find something that is in alignment with your passion
Okay.
and your why.
Cool.
Okay.
And number two?
Number two, surround yourself with the right people.
Hmm.
Far too often, solopreneurs are just that, solo. They don't surround themselves with people that can help them. And when you're sitting there attempting to do everything yourself and you're, if you'll excuse my language, half-assing it, right?
Yep. Fair.
Then first of all, you're not concentrating on what you do best, and you're probably not doing what you love the most in your business,
So
right?
Keith, can I explore this for one sec? So when you
Yeah.
say surround yourself with the right people, that doesn't always mean that you have to fully employ them. That could mean that you
No,
bring them in as
absolutely not.
consultants or as
Yeah.
guidance or as coaches, or maybe they have a service that you could pick up. So I think instinctively a lot of entrepreneurs go, okay, well that means I have to employ more people. But
Okay.
just
So
give us the scenario where that's not necessarily the
so
case.
this is incredibly, like, this is so on point with some of the stuff we're doing right now with our clients. So
Okay.
here's one of the things that's really important to understand. First of all, there are two types of employees. Okay, there are contractors and there are employees. Employees are a commitment. Now, if you're going to make that kind of commitment of having an employee, first of all, there's a lot more expenses that go with it. However, you don't have to have a full-time employee. And your part-time employee doesn't even have to be 20 hours a week. It can be less. Okay, you just have to make sure that you spell that out in the guidelines of when you're hiring the person and create those. What you want to do is, if you're growing your company, you want to let them know, hey, I'm growing this company and you have an opportunity here to grow with it.
Right.
And there's a lot of excitement that goes with that for people. You know, like being something that's living and growing, and they get to be part of that. They buy into that.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I got you.
So you can have those kind of people. You can have consultants. You can have, there's professionals around you that actually are part of your circle already. So if you have an accountant, that's part of your circle. If you have someone who gives you legal advice, that's somebody who's part of your circle, right? Part of your team. They don't have to be physically in your office every day. They just have to be part of your team. So I can't stress enough that you surround yourself with the right people that fit your core values, that understand that you're growing, and they're there to help you. You know, so go to your accountant, talk to them for advice. Get yourself a business consultant like us, right? That will be there for you. And like for us, we'll even just answer a question by text. We don't bill for that. Don't tell anybody, but we don't bill for that. And for me, it's all about helping these businesses to grow.
Okay, cool. And then, so what would be then, thank you, Keith. So then what would be the third thing? So knowing your why, getting the right people around you, be that employed or as a consulting group that you have access to in different departments and needs. What would be the third thing that would be really mandatory, or that you see, I should say, from a lot of the businesses that you guide and coach?
Well, stuff that gets things that get overlooked in all this
Yeah.
is the foundational stuff. So the foundational stuff is really, really important. It's, you know, I call this stuff the four cornerstones. So there's your mission, your vision, your core values, and your why. If you have those four things solid, you will create a message from those. And within that message, now you've got a foundation to be able to go out and market. So if you don't have those four, I suggest you highly look into doing that and getting getting expert help to help you with that. If you don't have those four things, you have no foundation. Things will collapse because you have no direction. Okay.
So can you
So
list them again for us real quick, Keith, so people
yep.
can write these
So
down?
your vision,
Yep.
your mission, your core values, and I'm not talking about your personal core values, how your company operates. What are the core values of your company? Because I can tell you, for me, family and fairness are two of my personal core values, and they sort of fit into my business core values, but really I have other business core values that are really important. And Michael, I've taken you through this, I think,
Yep.
in the past, and it's a very helpful exercise. So those three things plus your why are the four cornerstones of your business. They create so many things. They create your content. They create your messaging in terms of, you know, your marketing, when you're talking to people, all those kinds of things. And not only that, but they create relationships. And so, you know, you asked me about the third thing. The third thing is to have a solid foundation. Start with a very solid foundation. And in that foundation, Michael, you and I talked about this briefly. Make sure that all your legal stuff is taken care of. So
Okay.
not a lot of people look at the legal side of their business. If you are married, you have a business partner, whether you like it or not.
Mm-hmm.
So until you actually have a formal agreement that says they're not your business partner, you have one. Okay. Make sure you've got things squared away insurance-wise. If you have a food business like I had, you know, make sure you've got liability insurance, because there's always someone out there waiting to pop you.
Right.
You know, if you've got if you're younger, like when I started at 24, for me, you know, I was invincible. I was bulletproof, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So getting life insurance at 24, even though I did it, didn't feel like I needed to do it. But I can tell you this, 33 years later, I'm really glad I have it and had it then. Because if something had happened to me or my family, then what happens? And I wanted to stress something around the legal side as well. If you have family and you don't have something like life insurance, and God forbid you go out tomorrow and get hit by a bus, what happens to all your clients? What happens to all of your employees? What happens to your customers? Right? The business just doesn't disappear overnight. And again, this goes back to that ripple effect.
Right.
Having
Yeah. Yeah.
having how many people are affected by that? So making sure that your spouse can handle all that is really important too, right? So really important that you understand that it's not just about you. If you're in a relationship, whether it's, you know, just with a wife or a spouse, doesn't matter. You know, if you've got kids, even more so, even more paramount that you have some of these things covered off. So really have a look. If I can provide a little bit of insight for you in all this, or something that would be maybe homework for you, is to look at the legal side of your business and really understand it, because, and, you know, that's where we can help. Someone, I think George asked, you know, where can you find someone that will help you with this foundational work? That's exactly what we do.
Right.
We're there to help businesses to grow. And some of the growth happens in the very beginning when you start foundational work.
Okay.
So
That's fantastic, Keith. Thank you so much. So let's open it up now a little bit. So for those who want to, who have a question, just type your name into the chat box, guys, and then I will open up your microphone for you to be able to ask your question. So, so far, great information. We've got some time left here for Keith. Are you open to answering some questions just on the spot here, my friend?
So yeah, absolutely, Michael. Can I just go down the chat, because there were some comments in the chat that I just wanted to address, because there were
Yeah.
some of the questions in there.
Absolutely, and if anybody wants to have a question answered,
Yeah,
post into
absolutely.
the chat box, and I can unmute you as well. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm happy to stay for as long as you need me to, Michael,
Sure.
just to answer all the questions. So, affecting my business close, personal decision. More business. Yes, absolutely, George. That's one of the things that people don't understand, is that this affects a lot more people than you think. When you sell your business, or you close your business, or you decide to go in a different direction, it affects a lot of people. So it isn't just about you. And I know at the time, when you're fully entrenched in all those emotions that go with, let's say, closing a business, you got to take into consideration as well all the people around you that are affected as well. How do you know the right people? Haha. Okay,
Yeah,
so
isn't that the most? Man, there's a question we could spend hours on, right, Keith?
oh yeah,
Ugh.
yeah. So here's the thing, and this is why I talk about core values a lot. If you have your core values solid, the moment you meet somebody is the moment, if you're clear on your core values, you will be very clear as to whether or not that person is the right person to know or get to know that person. And in business, it's all about creating relationships. So someone put it to me very nicely about a month ago. It's about a marriage.
Yeah,
Business is about marriages all over the place. You're just marrying a whole bunch of people, right?
sure.
And so there's a dating stage, there's all these other things, there's power struggles that go on within friendships and relationships in business.
That never happens in a marriage, Keith. What are you talking about?
So that said, I mean, really vet those people and vet them on your core values. Make sure that they meet your core values, or walk away. There's more grief and more things that happen, when you're trying to force something, than when you're actually in your power and know exactly solidly where you want to be with people.
Totally. And one of the exercises that can help with that, you guys, is that if you're busy trying to figure out if these people match your core values and stuff, just play this little quick game with them. This is what I do when I'm talking to a partner or a potential partner or even a potential employee. I say things, or I play this game where I say, okay, so if this works out perfectly between my company and you, or us together, if this works out perfectly, what does it look like for you in 12 years or in 12 months? Sorry.
12 years
And,
would be a
and
great relationship.
yeah. And have them, though, go through a very, very clear and very specific visual of what things look like if it goes perfectly for the next 12 months, and then go 24 months, and then go 5 years out, right? What does this look like if it works out perfectly?
Mm-hmm.
And if the vision of what you want to get accomplished and what they want to get accomplished is not the same, then you have work to do in order to make sure those visions come together, or they're not the right fit for you. Does that make sense? Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So we have another question here from Dean. He says, how did you approach the big companies like Costco and Safeway, especially when you're just getting going, Keith?
So my situation was very different than most people. In 1986, when we first started, there were, I think, about 4 different companies that were doing packaged sushi at the time. And my vision wasn't even to do this for 20 years. My vision was to do it for a short period of time, and then get out and do what I had gone to school for. So when we first started, we were supplying a lot of little fish markets around the west side and downtown area of Vancouver. And we're doing a reasonably good job. And within about 6 months, I got a phone call, actually, from Safeway. So Safeway phoned me and they said, one of your competitors sent me to you. And I said, okay, great. That's awesome. Thank you. And I appreciate that. And they said, we want to chat with you and find out more about your product. And I said, okay, great. So what happened in that case was we were phoned. They phoned us. Our product was so good. Make your product. So come out of this, make your product or your service so good that the big companies want it, right?
I think that's the big key that a lot of people miss is they want to know how to do it. Sometimes it's actually about just getting extremely good, being incredibly good at what you do to get the notice of the people that are operating these other companies, because they're just people just like us, right?
They are. And I think that's the thing, that's the stigma that gets forgotten in all this, is that yes, they're working for a large company, but they are a person in that large company. And so if you can create those relationships, so you ask about how do you approach? Well, first of all, you be seen. Um, get yourself seen. So develop your brand, develop your marketing. If you're looking for someone like Costco or Safeway or something like that, show up at grocery trade shows. Go to do some of those things.
Right.
Talk to people in the industry. Go talk to store level. What is it you guys are looking for? Right? Because it isn't what you're providing, it's what they need. Right? And so what we were doing basically for the fish departments in Safeway was we were fulfilling a need. They wanted more revenues. They wanted to create more awareness around fish and buying fish, right? Because if you think about it, in 1986, not a lot of people were buying fish and seafood, right? And so when Safeway created their deli section, which we were part of, we were right there when it was happening. They came to us and said, "We want to switch you to the deli section." And we're like, "Okay, that should work reasonably well, I would think, but maybe not, so let's be open to the opportunity and do it." Okay. So in that, they gave us space because we had proved ourselves enough with them. So got to remember how I started. I started the story a little bit earlier. We were doing 10 Safeways. Safeways grew, they loved what we were doing. Okay, can you do 20? Okay, yes. Can you do 30? Yes. Can we go throughout the province? No, but we can deliver to certain areas of the province. Yes. Okay, so it's the same thing for this, right? We had created enough of a need and they knew that they could rely on us, that they came to us anytime they wanted to make changes. So they asked us what we needed. Same with Costco. Costco came to us for a completely different product. We sold 34,000 of something in 2 days, or we created 34,000, including and on top of the 10,000 pieces of sushi. And that was a story in itself, and I'm not going to go, bore you guys with that one today. But I mean, honestly, the reality is that if you want to approach Costco or Safeway or someone like that, first of all, you have to show the value is this isn't about you. This is about them. So what is it? What need are you fulfilling for them? Right? We're working with a company right now who is looking to get into Costco's and looking to get into some of the other stores. That I've said to them is, why? Why do they want you? Right? So let's talk about your marketing, and let's talk about, now again, we go back to your message, right? Message is, here's what we do for you. Here's what you see as results, right?
Right.
Here's the results you're going to see. You're going to see greater revenue. So what we've done with this company is we said to them, okay, your message going in is, we're going to create more revenue for you. This is a completely different product that you don't have on your shelves that people love. We know people love because we've done taste testing. And so it's going to create more revenues for you. And your profitability is going to be higher with this product.
Cool.
Right?
Great. Thank you, Keith.
Yeah.
So we just have a couple more quick questions here. So I'm going to jump on one of them. If you're great at something, so Doug asked this question, if you're great at something and decide to make it a business, how important are business skills? And what's the best way to gain them?
Okay. So you don't have to do everything or be everything. And this is where it goes back, where I go back to talking about who's on your team. Mm-hmm. So, Michael is a very good person to be able to talk to around business skills. He's got a very successful business himself and created some really great numbers for his company and his family's company. For us, we do the same thing. We're your support system, right? We're that company that comes in and we work with you. We're not even though like Michael, you talked about us coaching. Coaching is a little different than consulting. Coaching is, I tell you what you do, I play therapist, and then I go away for 2 weeks, right? And come back, or every week or whatever, right?
Right.
For us as a consultancy, what we do is we go in and we play therapist, yes, and we tell you, we work with you. And so it's not my business or our business, it's your business. So for us, the big piece here is that we want to work with you. If I don't connect you to the things that we're doing to grow your business, you won't grow your business. This automatically becomes shelf help because you're not connected to it. So we work with you. That's one of our core values, actually, is we collaborate with our clients and listen to them, right? And with that, as part of our 7-step process, we will take and create a system, or we'll create something for you that you can actually go ahead and do. And if it's not easy enough or you don't have enough time to do it, we work with you to accomplish that and grow your business.
Very
right?
cool. Okay. So Keith, before I ask you my final question for today, I want to find out, let these people know how they can get a hold of you. So where can they find you, and what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Okay. So first of all, please come follow me on Twitter, BizSurgeon, at business as BizSurgeon, BIZ Surgeon. Come to our website, businesssurgeon.ca. There's 3 S's in the middle. Don't miss that third S. Okay.
Business surgeon.
Yeah. And so there's that. And within there, there's also some resources for you to look at. We've got some podcasts and a little more about my story that you can listen to. And soon we'll be on iTunes as well, doing our podcast on a weekly basis. So there's those 2 ways. You can follow us on Facebook. We have a Facebook page, Facebook/Business Surgeon, or the Business Surgeon. And then on top of that, feel free to info@businesssurgeon.ca if you have any questions. There's a contact page, or contact us page on our website. By all means, reach out to us that way.
Okay, cool. And then so my final question for you here, Keith, is that if the business surgeon reaches the zenith of what you want it to accomplish, what type of impact is it having on the world?
So I'm about to share with you my vision. So when I started really looking at this about 4 or 5 years ago, what I realized was a couple things. First of all, when I started my first business, there was no consultants out there. There was no coaches. There was no anything. And so that's why I had to do it on my own. And I've looked at other models. I've been part of other models in terms of consulting. What I have finally come down to as a vision for my business is, if anyone knows the company Accenture, they are a large publicly traded consulting company that operates out of the US. And I'm not interested in being that company at all.
Okay.
What I recognize is that small and medium-sized businesses need a lot of help. And so for us, my vision for my company is to be a bricks and mortar that you can walk into and have the resources at hand that you need, whether it be the expertise, whether it be systems that need to be built, whether it be people that you need. You talked about, Michael, how we've tripled or quadrupled our business over a very short period of time. This year, we've taken on 3 more associates. And they're not up on our webpage yet, but this is the shoemaker who doesn't have good shoes, right? So, we're growing that way. So for me, my vision is now about helping other consultants who have very good expertise in their field to be successful as well. So not only are we reaching out to help businesses, we're also helping consultants to grow their businesses as well.
Cool. Very cool. Okay. So thank you so much, Keith. I really appreciate it. I think there was a lot of value there. Just reaching out into the community here that are listening. Anybody want to just comment on the value they got out of what Keith was going with today? I mean, I certainly saw, the 3 different things that you share with us, Keith. So knowing your why, being able to get the right team around you to achieve the results that you're looking for, and then having those 4 foundational pieces in place, right? So knowing your why, knowing your core values, having a vision for your company, and then the 4th one, help me out here, Keith. What was the
core
4th?
Values?
Yeah, I think I got that one. The values.
Mission, vision, why.
Mission, vision. Yeah. Yeah. Perfect.
So,
Dean saying that he loved the personal perspective on things. Absolutely, Dean.
thank
Anybody
you.
else have any great little chunks of wisdom that they were able to draw from today?
Anybody got any other questions? Because I'm happy to answer them for
Yeah,
you.
for sure. Any final questions before we before we let Keith go and move to the second stage of our words of wisdom today? Anybody have any final questions for Keith?
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, Doug's
And
just
like
saying
I
it's
say,
always
if
a
you,
big, huge
you know,
pleasure. Any resources for investors? Dean's asking about. So, any place to source out investors?
well, so that's part of part of my company that we really haven't talked about is funding.
Yes.
We find funding for companies a lot. Um, with that, though, you have to understand that if you're not a well-structured company, why would an investor want to invest in your company, right? So come talk to us about that, Dean, if you want. Certainly, we have probably 50 or 60 different sources that we are able to draw into or get a hold of to be able to present you or present your company, as long as it's well structured. And for us, we have independent investors as well within what we do. So if they see a company that even the banks don't want to look at, there are times where we've gotten the money anyways. So
Cool. Thank you so much, Keith.
you're welcome.
So I just want to say thank you so much, Keith. A big round of applause from myself and a digital round from everybody else. It was an absolute pleasure and an honor to have you here on our inaugural WOW interview series. I hope you guys got great value out of this today. So as I said, Keith is a phenomenal resource. I mean, this man has been through an absolute crucible as far as becoming an entrepreneur and growing a business. He's gone through the process of selling them. He's gone through the process of evolving them. And as you can imagine, what it takes to systemize things so that in a 600 square foot space, they're rhythmically producing 10,000 pieces of sushi a day is a huge endeavor. And then to be able to grow that and polish it up in such a way that you can actually sell that as well. It is a wonderful experience to have done those things. So thank you so much, Keith, for doing this. And I hope to see you guys on our next Words of Wisdom.
Michael, it's been an